What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and I'm here, of course, with the co-host, the main man. I'm not even going to say co-host, the main man of this show. It's Millsy from Across the Park podcast. And before he talks, I was on Across the Park podcast last night. I was on it, and it was wicked. It was a great show. So make sure you get on the website, get on the Spotify, the Amazon Music, get listening to that podcast, because I'm telling you, it was an absolute banger. Raw anger you got from Mike last night. But Millsy, I'll let you do some talking now. How are you, my friend?
Oh, good, mate. I enjoyed the Across the Park podcast last night. For anyone who's not looked at Across the Park podcast yet, go over to YouTube and you'll see our man Mike being introduced to two of my red friends, and banter and debate was there. But we had a nice conversation about football, whether it be both sides of the park. I think all of us as a nice time, despite being Evertonian at the minute. It is not the nicest time to be an Evertonian. I'm sure we'll get into that, but I thought the podcast went really well last night.
I did. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Everton, a particular phrase appears to be trending all over Twitter this afternoon, which is hashtag Ken Right Out. That's probably news to you there, Millsy. I can see it's took you back there. You're like, oh my God.
No, I've seen a little bit, simply because, like I said off air, I've been out all day today, so I've just had my phone at like little moments. I did see a couple of our friends. Let's say I saw Lee from the Bullens. He was tweeting about it. That got a bit of traction. I've saw a few people under that. You know, it's something like this. Now, I didn't know whether it would be Ken Wright or whether it would be somebody else, but something like this has been festering now for a while. Something was going to happen, because you may disagree with me here, but when you have somebody in that dugout on that touchline with such red colours and the fans are not blaming him at this moment in time, then the anger's got to go somewhere, because the fans are angry. So, Ken Wright, okay, I understand where it's coming from. I was not scared to say, despite this show and Across the Park wanting to have good relations with Everton Football Club, I was, back in the Blue Union 10 years ago, when the Blue Union was saying it was time for change then. I think we've got change. I think the fact that he's still there, it means that his voice shouldn't be there. Now, his role of lifetime chairman or lifetime presidency should not come with a voice. And I think that's where some fans are looking now, going, because again, there was a really good article, wasn't there, that we referenced on The Athletic, where someone said, if you want an answer from Everton, you've got to wait for 3 people to give it to you.
Yeah.
And Bill Kenwright should not be one of those people. If you want Bill Kenwright to come and talk about Everton Football Club to a new signing once they've already signed, and welcome them to the city and welcome them to the club, fantastic. But I think the fact that he is still got a voice and he's making decisions, it's pissed people off, hasn't it? It's pissed people off, man. I don't think it's probably going to be the last we're going to hear of it, do you?
No, you made a point last night. I think it was Terry from the Red side that asked you a question, or read out a question about, Farhad Mashiri and where his toy thing, and when's it going to take the club and the fans to turn. And you said, your exact words were, it's coming. It's coming. It is a storm that is brewing. The financial elements of the football club have been ran like a circus now for 5 years. We can't now recruit. Some people are saying we've got 35 million in January. If I was a betting man, I would say we haven't. I predicted that we would spend next to no money this summer and got it right. So I've got no reason to doubt my own thought process behind that.
But where's 35 million come from? I don't get that.
Yeah, it was just something I read about 3 days ago, that apparently Rafa's going to have 30 to 35 million to spend. But the facts are, Everton have got a lot of money off the wage bill, but it's the transfers that have killed us. It's the amount of money we've spent on transfers. So, as a football club, most football clubs run a at a ratio of about between 70 and probably 85%. You know, their wages, their staff costs to the turnover of the football team. Everton are no different in that sense. They're not. What is different with Everton, and it's a major problem, is the fact that it also meant we had no leg room. We had no room in terms of offering players new deals without going silly on money, because the players that were coming in were on mega money anyway. So when you're negotiating with Richarlison, who was on, say, 60 grand 3 years ago, and you offer him a new deal, and he's going to look to the side of him and go, Alex Iwobi's on 100 grand a week. Yeah. He gives him no leg room, and that is what has fucked Everton Football Club, in my opinion. The decisions that have been made, the players that we haven't been able to sell, not all of that is down to Marcel Brands. It's not, because, you know, players like Balassi, for example, £28 million. We should have gone and got Zaha at that time. It was a better transfer to go for Zaha at that time, but we didn't, and that was Steve Walsh's fault. And then he ends up leaving on a free transfer. But Farhad, as a businessman, in my opinion, should know this. Like, he should know this. He should know that these people that he's had below him, in my opinion, are inept for the job. They are not good enough for the job, and it's genuinely set back years. Do I think Ken Wright's the biggest problem in that boardroom? No. But I certainly think he's in there as one of the main culprits. If you have a collective, you know, togetherness, I really at this point would have no issues if Everton Football Club were for sale. Like, I'm really struggling with where Everton are right now. I know we've got the stadium, and I'm very grateful to Farhad Moshiri. I really am. But I kind of hope that he builds it and he sells it and he makes a little bit of money off Everton and he goes. If it wasn't for,
I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for that stadium, it would be a lot worse now. From
The fans would be completely against him, I would have thought.
I've said on this show a few times, I drive past where it's happening. That Bramley Moor dock, I drive past it when I go to work in Liverpool City Centre. I can see it is happening, and without that visual, I think if we were still sort of, it's no spade in the ground, and we're still, I think even at that point, I think it would be quite, not toxic, but I think what we're seeing now is, I'm trying to be careful of how weird this is by no means, this reaction of the fan base right now is no means the fault of the manager, but his presence underlying is bringing things out, because more Evertonians having debating disagreements than ever now over the manager and the director of football and the chairman and the owner and the CEO and the head of youth development. You know, all these people are being held accountable by certain sections of the fan base, and throughout that, we have Rafael Benitez as the Everton manager, who was causing this divide anyway. So you add all that together, it's chaos. And chaos was the word I said this was going to end up in. We're not even halfway through the season, and we're in the chaos. The results on the pitch have been terrible, and I understand that there's mitigating factors for that. I don't think Watford and Wolves beat an Everton team with Yerry Mina and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I've been on this show. I think it was a very, very silly move for us to let James Rodriguez go before January, because you look at certain games between now and January, and even if it's 50% of the time, pick those games, get his fitness schedule to work around that if you need be. And if you know in January that we can spend, and he's had a good first half of the season, you'll still get him off the wage bill. You'll probably even get a transfer fee. So there have been decisions across the club that have been a bit chaotic already. And I think it just takes one now movement. It just takes the hashtag X, Y, or Z out to happen, and the movement is happening. And if it is Ken Wright, and I'll take your word for it, if there's a Ken Wright out movement which is starting on social media today, we'll see banners soon. It'll transform to banners.
I think you'll see him. I think you'll see him at the next home game. I think it's that toxic, and I don't want to come on air. I hate it. I hate coming on air and essentially just digging out the football club, because none of us want that. We all want to be pushing in the right direction. You know, the support that the podcasts and YouTube channels get from the club. Some get a little bit more than others, and that's not a dig at anyone. I've never been contacted by the club at all, and I think that's because I am probably quite aggressive with my comments, very, very outspoken. Whereas other channels and podcasts, I'd probably put you into that bracket. You know, you're more articulate, more relaxed, more you're more concentrated on the view of the game, whereas I just lose my head, and that's what makes great entertainment. That's why me and you work so well.
Absolutely.
But the issue you have with that is equally, you've also got a complete fan base that also have those personality traits, and all it takes is, say, 20,000 of me, for example, the highly, you know, heads gone, you know, that will genuinely turn the place toxic. And I'm digging myself out there, but it's really difficult right now to know where we're going. Like, I have no idea where we're going. We get promised things left, right, and centre, and it doesn't happen. I mean, do you remember when they were talking about when we heard that they were dredging the North Sea and the Irish Sea, and there was going to be a webcam and there was going to be a website that showed going on.
Where's that?
All I'm seeing is a guy's drone footage, which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Seeing a guy's drone footage showing me what's going on at our football club, and it's really interesting. Why can't Everton do that? I'm really struggling with the board, the players, and equally as a result, the manager, because I need is someone at that football club to stand up and communicate with the fans. We mentioned it before. We spoke about it when Arsenal CEO did it, and the Villa CEO did it as well when they lost Jack Grealish. They come out, they made a statement, speak to us. Don't put the AGM online. Get it in front of people. Let fans have their say, have their comments. Sit in a pub. Put someone in a pub and ask questions, answer questions, fire them in. Do something to engage with the fans, because the only time we hear about Marcel Branch is in Dutch media channels. We never hear from Farhad Moshiri unless it's about something that Everton are standing against, i.e. the Big Six, or we're going to sign Koulibaly for 80 gazillion pounds. I need this football club to tell us where we're going, so we can strap in, get behind it, and at least know what we need to do as a fan base. Because whatever personality you are, this is preaching a little bit now, whatever personality you are, however you look at the match, whether you're an emotional man, an analytical man, a stressy man, or a calm man who's not bothered, we need to stick together. And right now, I feel like I'm against Everton Football Club, and I feel like the fan base are.
Yeah, and I think what you will see is the fans. If you remember back to when the Blue Union happened back in 2011, I remember a very significant moment in, I think it was the Aston Villa game, which was the first protest, and the camera, for some reason, put Bill Kenwright on the screen, and half the ground applauded and half the ground booed.
Yeah,
and straight away you had that divide. And I remember being outside the main entrance on Goodison Road before the Wolves game, which was back in November.
Yeah.
And there was certain sections of fans who would chat and sell the club, or sell up if you loved the club. And then you'd get people from the Winslow shouting, "What idiots!" And that's the worst place for us to be. And back then, we had stability on the field. Yes, I know that summer we were losing players such as Yakubu, Mikel Arteta, but we had a manager who we all trusted. Now, despite how that ended and how some fans may feel now, we had that when 3 o'clock hit. We had Leon Osborne, we had Leighton Baines, Phil Jagielka, we had Tim Cahill, we had Tim Howard, we had Tony Hibbert. For people who didn't like Phil Neville, I thought Phil Neville was a very good captain. We have Phil Neville. You had players who cared, and the problem is now if these movements go wrong, I don't feel, and I don't want to speak for any Evertonian, I don't feel like that team and that manager have enough to guide themselves through what could be a toxic. Because you've seen that team let us down so many times already, and I couldn't really say it about that David Moyes team in 2011. Yes, I've seen bad results, and yes, I've seen bad performances, but they were never sort of. You'd never get to the end of the season and say sell them all like you're doing now with this one. You'd want to stay clean with this team, barring one or two. And
I made that point yesterday, if you remember. Yeah. I said exactly that on the podcast. I said, look, you know, when you sit there and you think about managers who I can at least the way that I remember things, and I was behind Martinez, I backed him. I sort of saw what he was doing, but wish he'd have brought in a defensive coach. He didn't. Then the recruitment in terms of management and director of footballs and changing that model has been a disaster. But before then, as you rightly say, and look, I think it's fair to say me and you have a similar opinion about David Moyes in terms of, you know, and equally he's at a West Ham side which are challenging the top four now. So yeah, he's not coming back to Everton. But I was fine with him not coming back. Like I'm one of those people that, you know, once you've done it and move on. But if I'd have realised I was getting this, I probably would have preferred to have David Moyes as a manager right now.
That's exactly my point, what I was coming on to. And it's a word that you said on the Across the Park podcast last night. And it's a word that I've actually thought about today when I knew I was going back on here. Identity. Now, back then, we were going back over 10 years when the Blue Union was saying, we can't see an identity, we can't see a plan, we don't know where we're going as a club. We at least had a game, we at least had a team on the pitch that had some sort of identity. They were never going to win the league, they were going to struggle to even win a cup because they were getting stripped apart as Tim Cahill got older and as Mikel Arteta got older. You sort of missed that window in the 07 to 09, maybe that's 10. That was the period that team should have won a trophy. But even in 2011, you were never, you still seen that team could give Liverpool a game. That team would beat Manchester United at home. That team would go beat Manchester City away. That team would finish in or around a European position. So there was identity on the pitch that fans still clung on to. It's not even there. There's no identity on that pitch. So this is where the anger, this is where the frustrations come from, and this is where the word chaos, I've always said chaos, this is where it's going to get to, because there's nothing. Now, yes, there's good players. We've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's refreshingly, you know, to see what he does off the pitch is refreshing in the personality, and to watch him on Sky after the Wolves game, you could see he was hurt, and I loved that. Yes, we've got good players, you know, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Yerry Mina, Ben Godfrey, Jordan Pickford. There's good players, but that's it. There's a few individually good players, and that's it. I don't know how we're going to set up on Sunday. I don't know how on earth we're going to get out of there alive on Wednesday night next week. I don't know how we're going to do it. And then I go into January thinking, I don't know the plan to make that better. What is it? I haven't got a clue. It's on and off the pitch. There's nothing. I don't know who makes the decisions off the pitch. I don't know who signs the players on the pitch. I don't know. I don't even know who our best player is. I don't know.
I think, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And there is only, you know, in terms of a football team, there's only a few saleable assets as well. So it's not like we can sell a player and fix all of this in one go. Because, say for example, Richarlison went in January or May. Now, he's not been great now for 18 months, really. Are you going to get what we paid for him? And if you are, fair enough. But are you going to get the 70, 80, 90, 100 million pounds that we were after last year? Which genuinely, that's the sort of money that gets us out of trouble. Like,
there's probably only one player who would fetch close to that, and it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, isn't it? And then I think he's probably one of the only few that the fans trust and have got an attachment to. I've never seen what I have seen with Calvert-Lewin is when he struggles at times. I think fans have always said we could maybe do better. Some fans have said that. Some fans have said he's not the answer.
Yeah.
I don't think following Lukaku helped him at all, because that was a really bad season for us when Lukaku left him.
Especially as a young lad, he was only 19.
Yeah.
I remember the season he scored 15 goals. I said that in that summer, I said I'd have got rid of him. He'd go back to Sheffield United. So I was one of them.
But no fan has ever sort of not turned on him. That's the wrong thing to say. But there's the players who get treatment, i.e. Iwobi, i.e. at times Andre Gomez. Luca Dean is going through it a little bit now, where the fans are sort of saying, "Well, I'm seeing through you. I don't think maybe you're." Like, no one ever done that with Calvert-Lewin. So to sell him would be a gamble. That he's the only one really, because Ben Godfrey hasn't started the season well. So you're not to get big money for Ben Godfrey. He would have had to been fans saying he should be our captain right now. This is how good he is. It's not happened for him yet. Abdoulaye Doucouré, he would probably get a hefty sum, nowhere near the level of money where you're putting a 7, 8, 9 in front of it. I don't think so. No. Alan, no. Yerry Mina has now got 18 months left, which has been criminal to allow it to get to 18 months now, where you're probably going to have to sell him for 15 million in the summer or lose him a year later for nothing. Jordan Pickford, rumours Tottenham are interested. Would Tottenham go any more than a 4 in front of that? Probably not. Well, and then does that help you? I don't know.
Well, apparently they only value him at 25 million as well.
There you go. And then who else? Luca Dean. Luca Dean would get a 3 in front of it, I imagine. But you're relying on this season that teams on the continent get back to normal financially as well, because they're all fucked as well. The money's in England, and I don't think teams would look at Luca Dean in England really and say we'll pay big money. So if what we need is sellable assets, the only one in my view that would change things for us would be a hell of a risk to sell, because he's the only one the fans are attached to for me, other than Godfrey and Doucouré.
When you sit there and you sort of break it down, and when you look at how clubs have grown around us in the 5 or 6 years, I mean, you look at Leicester, they've won a league, they've won an FA Cup, they've don't get me wrong, they're having a poor season this season, fair enough, but they've spent wisely, they're signing players like Samir, who, yes, fair enough, hasn't necessarily made a massive impact, but he was only like £12 million. While Everton are going out lashing 20-25 million. I thought the business we did last summer with Alan, Doucouré, I thought that was good business, 20-25 million. I thought that was players that we can maybe get our money back, or make a small profit. Certainly on Ben Godfrey and Doucouré. Yes, Alan, I think he's probably the wrong side of 30 now to get your money back. But I saw what we were doing. Then Rafa walks in and he's probably he's literally handed your 1s and 2s off the back of the sofa. Like that's what he was handed, and he managed to get out a tune, but that's turned very quickly as well. And now when he's relying on Rondon, you sort of sit there as a fan, and I don't know if you have this. I don't know if you, but I've got to the point now where I laugh. I sit there and I laugh. I just go, yeah, we're fucked.
I'm not gonna lie. When Rondon came on, I'm in a big WhatsApp group with Evertonian friends and stuff, and Price is in there and Judgy from the podcast, and we just said like he's doing this because Rondon's now going to play on Sunday, and it was just like people putting crying face emojis in there, emojis, just like it's going to be a Iwobi behind Rondon on Sunday, and people are putting crying faces in there, just saying like, what? How do you get to the point where £500 million? And I'm not gonna be a cop-out and say net spend, because I hate it when they say it. I hate the way they say, "Oh, we spent nothing." So, like it or not, no matter where we've got the money from, £500 million has been put into that squad. whoa, what on earth? How? And I think there's been the 2017 window and 2019 windows with the Times. And looking back, no one was right, and we were all quite pleased at the time with those players because they were coming with reputation. David Classen was coming with a reputation. Sandro was coming with one. Moise Keane and John-Philip Gabamit were coming with reputations and fucking YouTube videos that just con everybody when you watch them. So we weren't writing back then, but we're not paid as supporters to scout these players. We're paid to jump on and trust and jump on for the ride and enjoy it. And we have been, as a set of football supporters, so let down. And I think for me, I'm more upset and angry that we've been let down by a billionaire owner that we craved and wanted for so long. We all thought, and even Bill Kenwright's bigger supporters, and he has them, and he's had them, I think they would even tell you that as long as it was the right billionaire, it wasn't somebody who was going to be a Venky's or it was going to put the club in, you know, an MK Dons AFC Wimbledon scenario. Really bad scenarios that you see. As long as you start changing our shirt colour to red, as long as intentions were good, then that will be the game changer, and it hasn't. And yes, the stadium's going to be fantastic. We've said this, both of us have said this a number of times. That stadium will hopefully be a game changer, but what on earth do we do to them? What do we do? Because the money has been pissed up the wall by people who, honestly now, and I know our current director of football is still there, but people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and that is the fundamental issue. I said this on my video, and I know you probably, I think you watched my match reaction. My match reaction this week, I made a comment about people in 20 years' time. So you've got a generation of fans my age who have never seen Everton be successful.
No.
You know, and I have never seen. I have an affiliation with David Moyes because, one, I was the mascot for Everton when he was manager, and he was brilliant, you know, the whole day and all of that lovely stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember watching Arteta, Cahill, Pienaar, Leighton Baines, Phil Jagielka, Julian Lescott, if you want to throw him in there. Yeah. I remember thinking to myself and Googling every year we'd be around 4th or 5th, and I remember sitting there going, will Everton qualify for the Champions League this season? I remember doing it, sitting there being so blown up, ready, thinking, this is the year we're going to do it. We're going to crack it this year. I remember crying at Villarreal when that goal was disallowed. I remember crying. And right now, I look at Everton, and if me as a 29-year-old is really struggling to understand what's going on, there'll be other fans who aren't as diehard as I am, who will just stop watching, who will just give up on football. They'll say, there's too much money in this game. It's run by 6 clubs in the Premier League. I'm not arsed anymore. I'm not arsed. And they'll stop going. They'll stop watching. But then the issue you have then is the generation gap to their children. They won't be bothered about football either.
No.
Their dad, just like my wife's dad, lovely bloke, brilliant bloke, amazing bloke. Used to go to Aston Villa, home and away for years. Then something happened. I think an incident happened at a football match, but as a result, he never went again. Mid-80s, he never went again. There was a generation gap in his family. His girls aren't bothered about football. They're not bothered about Aston Villa. So in 20 years' time, when we've got this 52,000-seat stadium, which, again, by the way, I still think I would have been more ambitious at the time and gone for 60. But that, again, that's a whole different debate. We might not even fill it. We genuinely might not even fill this stadium in 20 years' time. And this is what this current board is not thinking about. It's not me and you dealing with the pain today. It's us dealing with the generational pain in 2 years' time, or in 20 years' time, because there will be a gap. 100% there'll be a gap.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I've said previously with the Dominic Calvert-Lewin thing. I think there's only a number of players that these Evertonians are latching onto now, and he's one of them. If you if for some reason he was taken out of it on a permanent basis, I think kids would just say, I don't want to go to the match on Saturday, Dad. I don't want to go. And I think it could get like that. And I grew up in an era where Everton weren't very good. So my first, I'm 36, 7 years older than you. So, excuse me, my first game was 94. Season we just stayed up against Wimbledon. Then the following season was great. It was the FA Cup. But then after that, it was maybe 5 or 6 years of nothing. But we had we had players and characters who would fight. You had Big Duncan Ferguson in there. You had Dave Watson. Neville Southall was there up until 97, 98. Even when Kevin Campbell came in, and you've seen how much it means to Kevin Campbell to play for Everton Football Club, and there was just, you'd turn up at Goodison and you'd think we'd give someone a game here, and sometimes it never happened because the quality showed, but there were times that those teams would give you great moments, and that was again going back to the word we used before, identity. There was an identity with those teams that you knew that they didn't have X, Y, and Z, but they'll certainly give you A and B. They'll work hard, and they'll get stuck in. And I think fans didn't wave back then. Fans kept going again, but because they had these players, I'm sure there's people who are my age who have got tattoos of players who older generation Evertonians would say don't deserve a tattoo, and that's fine. But that my generation will have Duncan Ferguson or Kevin Campbell tattoos. The generation after that will have Tim Cahill tattoos and things. But because that was there. Again, I hate to repeat myself, but I don't see it other than a couple. So the identity thing is terrifying. And what you're saying earlier about this online AGM and that you want answers, and I agree. I want answers. We're not going to get them. We're not going to get them. They're hiding behind it. They're hiding behind it.
But we knew this in the summer. We sat here on this podcast and had this conversation, and that's what scares me. One of the things you've just mentioned is, about tattoos and things, and you mentioned Tim Cahill, and he would be. So for example, to you, maybe Duncan Ferguson, Kevin Campbell. That's my Tim Cahill.
Yeah, I get that.
Who's my son's? I wouldn't even say Calvert-Lewin isn't a legend, or he's someone that is respected, but he's not in the same category as Ferguson or Tim Cahill. He's not in that bracket. So I look now and think, no, I can't relate to anyone in that football team. And my first game at Goodison Park, I'm going to give you a memory now. My first game at Goodison Park was September the 29th. I'm gonna see if you get this, Mel. It's a bit of a quiz for you. Everyone in the comments, stop the video now. I'm gonna give you a date. Can't Google it. September the 29th, 2001. We won.
Walter Smith was the manager.
We won 5-0.
West Ham at home.
Well done. We won 5-0 at home.
Yeah.
And
Thomas Rosiński scored his first goal, didn't he? One of his first games.
Yeah, I think it was Rosiński. I think Campbell scored just before half time. I think Gravison might have got one as well.
Gravison got one, yeah.
Spelling up with Gravison that day. And I remember sitting there as an 8-year-old thinking, this is fantastic. Like, this is me. That was when I was fully invested into Everton Football Club. Had the one shirt on, and I look at it now and I feel and John feels sorry for me. John feels sorry for me because I've never seen us be successful. I feel sorry for our kids. I feel sorry for my kids because fundamentally, whether people like this or not, we're turning into a Newcastle. We're turning into one of them teams where the fans, unfortunately, there's still enough fans that live in that past glory and say we're a big club because we've won 9 league titles. But there's now also fans coming in that have had 30-odd years of winning nothing. And there's such a massive divide in that sense as well in this fan base that the whole club is completely disjointed from the fan base all the way to the board. And I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
I just don't know I don't know the answer, and that's the problem. I wish I could. If I knew the answer, if someone said to me, "We know the answer, we've just got to push the narrative," I would get down there at Goodison and I would help these people again if that's what it takes. But I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's as simple as removing the owners now, because they're going to leave collateral damage in the fact that you still can't fucking sign players. Is it as easy as removing this manager just to take that manager out of it? No, because the new coach is going to come in with those players. So the easy answer is you get rid of every fucking player and start again. But we all know you can't do that. It's impossible. I don't know the answer. The closest answer I've got to it,
relegation,
is you've just got to strike. You've just got to get lucky with a manager or a coach, and it could be this manager. You've got to strike lucky with someone, because that's the only way out of it now, where we can qualify for Europe, or we can win a trophy, or we can develop a player from the academy into something that we could, you know, I hate saying this and go back in time, but someone who if you do need to sell someone, there'll be significant money coming in for them. If you get to a point in time where you are really struggling,
like a Rodwell or a Rooney or even a Barkley.
Ross Barkley went for buttons in the end, but he was nearly going for 35 million with the year left on his deal. Jack Rodwell went for just under 20. I think it was 17 million he went for. Wayne Rooney, I've always said we got bumped on him, but he still brought 28 million pounds in a time we needed it. But failing having success on the pitch now, I don't know the way out of it, and it's a catch-22 situation, because to have success on the pitch, 9 times out of 10, there needs to be stability off it. There needs to be a plan. There needs to be the director of football who is interviewing this manager and then telling the owner, as good as this manager's just interviewed, he doesn't fit in with my ethos for our youth development, and I've got a plan to play 5 kids next season. My youth team manager's on board with what we're doing down there, so it all needs to fit. Our director of football is certainly not doing that. Certainly not doing it. And I tell you what, if it didn't work out this season with you know, the Marcel Brands' plan, but in 2 or 3 years' time, you're seeing it start to work, and you said, okay, we played Onyengo and we played Dobbin, and they didn't do very well. But look at them in 3 years' time. And Brands came out and said, we had to take the rough with the smooth. That was the plan. We had a plan. It's not there. It's not there at all. I don't blame the fact that fans are turning. I really don't, because I'm getting sick of it. I've waited for... Yes, I seen the FA Cup in '95, and technically I was born in the '80s when things were happening that I obviously can't remember because I was really young. I've seen '95. I've now got 2 kids, and you know, I've lost my dad who I shared '95 with. And are we going to get to a point now? I've waited so long now. Are we going to get to a point in time where I don't know if I can have that with my kids, and then my kids are going to say, "Good God, my entire life I seen fuck all." Is it going to? It's starting to feel like that to me. I don't see any identity, any plan, and what you've said before, spot on. We're not even hearing it, never mind seeing it. At least if they came out and said, well, you're not seeing it, but it's this. Not even getting that. Go on AGM online, where you can block questions and cherry pick them.
I think that does it for tonight, to be honest.
Thanks for that, Mike. I had a great day until...
Yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah. I mean, I think I sort of want to leave with this statement. I'm going to put this statement at the start of the video. I think you'll agree. I want this club to be a success, and I want it to be successful on and off the pitch. Everton do a lot of things right, a lot of good things for charity and the community.
Absolutely.
But as an entity, as a football club, we're going backwards. So I genuinely do think we need change of some sort, and I don't quite know where that is.
No, couldn't have said it better. I just don't know where it's coming from. And look, there's really great people at that football club. You mentioned there the charity, Everton, the community. There's fantastic things about that football club. I've got friends there, and you know, over on Across the Park podcast, we did a podcast with Michael Branch. And Michael Branch chose us to do his first ever football podcast because the club have entrusted across the park to do this. And that's the relationships we've built. And by no means me coming on these channels and saying it's not good enough, and saying that, you know, change it all is it's not at these people who I know and are working really hard. It's not at the community. It's at the people who are messing things up on that pitch. And you don't have to be on the pitch to mess up. Your decisions at a higher level can mess it up. And whilst we're going to Manchester City and losing 3-0, and a lot of teams will, it's just becoming too much now. It's just getting to the point where you're just thinking, I know fans who used to go all the time, and they were literally, during lockdown, they were struggling so much because they didn't have Everton Football Club to go and watch. And on Sunday, they're saying they're not going. They're saying they're not going to Brentford because they can't be arsed driving home for 5 hours, feeling absolutely devastated. They'd rather be able to just to. I see it again. One of the lads in the Bullens, the top lad, he said on Sunday morning he was thinking of going at the Christmas markets because he didn't want his weekend to be ruined by Everton.
John said categorically, and he said it last season as well. He said if this stadium wasn't on the horizon, he wouldn't renew his season ticket.
I imagine he's not the only one thinking that way as well.
Yeah,
mate, and I'm sure we'll catch up.
Yeah.
Before next week, but good God, get your helmets on, get your tin hats on. It's not going to get any easier. We're going to have a tough couple of moments before it gets better, I think, unfortunately.
Great, guys, we're leaving it there. Millsy, it's been a pleasure as always. Hopefully next week will be a positive one after a 5-0 win away at Brentford.
Oh, come on, you Blues.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, guys, we'll see you soon. Peace.